So my friends, in today's video we're comparing two of the hottest projectors on the market in 2025, the Nebula X1 and the Valerion VisionMaster Pro 2. Now we're going to be comparing them on all of these different sections and we'll see which one comes out on top. Now before we get into it, I just wanted to show you some footage to show you how close this is. These two projectors are just exceptional. Anyway, let's get started. Don't forget to hit the red button to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and click the notification bell to get my next video first. I'm going to score this in the same way that boxing is, and that means if there's a winner of a round, then that winner will get 10 points and the loser will get 9 points. If the round is even, then it will be 10-10, but if there's a knockout round, and that means that there's one which is significantly better than the other, then that will be a 10-8 round. Now I have already done full reviews on both of these and I'll leave the links to those in the description, and it's important to point out that this review is not sponsored. This is a just direct comparison of how I see things. No sponsor from either manufacturer. First up is connectivity. Now that one is easy. It's a clear win for the Valerion because it has an extra HDMI port, an extra audio port, and it also has an RJ45 LAN network port. So the Valerion takes the first 10 points. Now on to design. Now design is really down to personal choice, and personal choice for what you're going to be using this one for. So in many ways I can't split them. Now I've asked a few people around and I'm getting about a 50-50 response. Some absolutely love the Valerion, others find it a little bit too industrial looking. For me personally, I think it looks absolutely stunning. It is very heavy though, but we'll cover that when we come to portability. I absolutely love the simpleness of it. I love the clean lines and I love that mesh pattern, with everything just in one square box. Now this also has a feature which the Nebula doesn't, and that is a pull-out kickstand. It is quite hard to operate, but it does give you that extra functionality. Now onto the Nebula, and that also has got a couple of features which the Valerion hasn't. It's got the lens that pops up, and it's also got the pop-up handle, as well as the LED controls on top. So I don't think that either one of these projectors is bad looking at all, and I think that they've both got features which people will like. So I'm going to keep these very simple and say that both of these score 10 out of 10 on design. The remote control that comes with the Valerion is the far better remote control. Not only is it backlit, but it's got far more functions than the Nebulas. It's got things like direct access to sources, for instance, and you've got this button. And this is a great little button because it gives you direct access to a lower bar full of settings, which then pop up on the screen. And here you can change all of the settings to your heart's content. And all this just by pressing one button. The other way of going into the settings, and with the Nebula's remote control, you have to press the settings cog, and then you have to navigate through 2 or 3 different screens to get to where you want to be. So that's a really nice feature. This also feels a little bit more premium, more substantial in the hand. Now don't get me wrong, the Nebula X1 has a great remote control. It's smaller, it is backlit, but there's more limited function. So it's a 10-9 win for the Valerion. Now when it comes to portability, there can only really be one winner. The Nebula is the winner in this round. But is it going to be a 10-8 or is it going to be a 10-9? Well, I took the Nebula outside and I had it set up on my small screen and also on the big wall opposite, and it worked brilliantly, and I would never do this with the Valerion. A lot of the X1's marketing is pushed towards the outdoors, and with the accessories like the speakers, if you got that package, well then they would work brilliantly outdoors, and that would be a definite advantage. However, it doesn't have a built-in battery and it doesn't have any waterproofing. I was able to take it upstairs to my studio and set it up within seconds though, so it definitely is the most portable out of the two. But in my opinion, it's almost too good to take outside. Certainly here in the UK, where it's freezing cold and rains pretty much every single day, well then I would have very little use for it. But if you do live in a better climate, well then that's something that you could consider. One thing that it doesn't come with though is any case as standard, and it's around $130, £130 for a case, whereas the Valerion does come with this thing, and without doubt is one of the most robust cases that I've seen. But this is still an easy win for the Nebula, but it is only a 10-9 due to the fact that there's no waterproofing and also no battery. Okay, so it's time to start showing you some footage, and we're going to start off with daylight viewing. The Valerion is on the right for the moment, and the Nebula is on the left. I'm going to do some split screen in just a second so you can see the differences. Now, Both of these projectors are just the most incredible machines. They deliver the most brilliant images in day and at night, and the majority of time is very, very hard to separate. Now here we've got the Nebula on the left and the Valerion on the right. Now the Nebula is closer to the open window, the open blind, and so I'm going to switch these around right now so you can see the differences between the two. Now, for me, the extra brightness, which is coming from the Nebula, because it's 3500 ISO lumens compared to the 3000 on the Valerion, doesn't really do that much, because the extra contrast that you're getting with EBL on the Valerion really does improve the image. And it's only very slight, and in the majority of scenes when it's just a full screen like this, you don't really notice it, but when it is side by side and head to head, you definitely start to see it. But it's important to point out that both of these projectors just do an exceptional job. If you look at how light it is coming in from the outside, and also I've got the overhead lights on, there's 4 of them in the room, and I've got lamps either side of the screen. All of those are on, and it's still delivering this incredible image. Quite breathtakingly stunning. So the majority of people don't watch a projector in brightly lit rooms. So what I've done now is I've tilted the blind slightly, I've turned off the overhead lights, and so now we're in much more of a real world condition. And I definitely think that the Nebula is doing a better job here. The extra brightness is even more noticeable, and the whole picture quality is great. But my opinion is that I still think that the Valerion has just edged it with that extra contrast. It just delivers what I think is the better picture. So I'm going to be giving this 10-9 to the Valerion just again. It's very, very close, but it's a win for the Valerion. Both of these projectors deliver the most incredible dark scenes. Now that's down to the individual technology in both projectors, which is different. Now with the Nebula, they have what's known as a stepped iris, which means that you can open up the iris to 5 different stages. And what you're getting then is improved contrast with minimal loss in brightness. And it's quite exceptional, the different levels that this delivers and what it can achieve. But the problem is, for the Nebula, is that the EBL algorithm, the enhanced black level algorithm on the Valerion, is just one of the most incredible technologies that we've seen, and it does this on the fly. And what I mean by that is that every single scene, it's being adjusted. It reads the scene and then makes the changes. So you don't have to have it in one setting or another. It's literally just allowing it to see what it needs to do and make that change. Now, the end result is actually quite similar, as you can see from the images on the screen. But the way that it delivers it is definitely better on the Valerion. However, because the end result is no difference, I don't really think it would be fair to separate them on this. And when you compare these to other projectors, that's when you're going to see the major differences in these two technologies and how these are probably head and shoulders above other competitors in the range. And they're going to need to introduce something similar, otherwise they're going to stay behind. But as you can see from these dark scene images, both of these incredible projectors deliver the most stunning results. There will be some scenes, and there were some scenes that I preferred with the Nebula, and there will be other scenes that I preferred with the Valerion. However, they weren't right all of the time, and they weren't wrong all the time, so I have to mark this evenly again, I'm afraid. But don't get me wrong, I'm scoring these out of 10. But if I could score it higher, I would. They are both incredible, but it's a 10-10 for this round. Okay, we're going to move on to focus and sharpness now, and again, this is not going to surprise you, they are very hard to tell apart. The lens quality in both of these machines is just exceptional. With the Nebula, it's a 14 lens arrangement, but with the Valerion, it is just as good. It is pin sharp in every single detail. Look at these two images. Now, this is a photograph that I've taken with my Sony camera, and I've not made any changes. This is the Nebula, and then the next image you're going to see is the same shot but with the Valerion, and this is the Valerion, and this is where I think you're seeing the EBL kicking in a little bit, and I'm going to show you them in both scenes now, where you can probably tell slight extra brightness on the Nebula and with the enhanced black level on the Valerion. Which is your preference to those? But boy, don't they both look absolutely incredible. And here, this is now 250% the size, and again, sharpness unbelievable on both. So again, I'm sorry guys, but this is a 10-10 round. Both of these projectors have Google TV, which is great, end of story there. But one of them is just really laggy, and that's the Nebula. It only has 32GB of ROM and 2GB of RAM, compared to 4GB of RAM and 128GB of ROM on the Valerion. Plus the Valerion has the faster chip, and so therefore the whole operating system, going through different menus, selecting different things, it is so noticeable that it's so much faster. Now, there are some technologies that are built in. We've obviously talked about the things like dynamic iris and also the EBL, but there's the spatial adaptation, which works fantastically well on the Nebula. It basically analyzes the scene and makes all the adjustments for you, and this pretty much worked all of the time. But then the Valerion also has a option to do the automatic screen fit and detection, and because both of these have optical zoom, you're not getting any loss in the picture quality. As you can see here, it's kicking into optical zoom. Now, it does automatically go into digital zoom if it needs to, and that is shown pretty well on the Nebula, which we'll come to in just a second. It did take slightly longer on the Valerion, but again, it did a great job. Now, both of these also have auto keystone, and you can have them off at an angle, and this is the AI spatial adaptation working on just a wall, where it's analysing the wall. You can see that the projector is off at an angle on the desk, which is giving you that skewed image, and within a few seconds it straightens up and gives you a great image, and that's going off from quite some angle. The other advantage with the Nebula is because you have got that 25-degree tilt in the actual lens, it means that you're getting a little bit more flexibility in where you can position it. Now, I've pulled it back here and it's automatically adjusted and corrected the screen, but now if I want to, I can raise it up or I can raise it down without any loss in the picture quality, and that's just because that lens is moving automatically. Now, if I zoom in and zoom out as well, one feature I really like on the Nebula is the fact that it gives you the screen size, which I guess is a nice touch. Now, overall, this was going to be a pretty even round, but I really can't forgive Nebula for only putting in 2GB of RAM and 32GB of ROM in a machine which is just far more powerful and needs to have more. It made that it was laggy and frustrating to operate, so I'm afraid it's a 10-9 to the Valerion. Okay, so when it came to fan noise, well, the fan noise on both of these are very, very low. Certainly, I was getting almost no extra reading from the room. So the room was measuring around 27 decibels, and then when I turned it on, and started playing a video but had it on silent, it went up to about 32 to 33. And in fairness, the Nebula, although it's a little bit noisier to start off with because you get that lens movement, it ended up going down to about exactly the same type of level. There may have been 1 or 2 decibels in it, but if you're looking for a projector which is almost silent in its operation, well, both of these will definitely tick the box, and I can definitely recommend either one of them. So again, it won't surprise you that we're scoring this one 10 each. Okay, let's move on to one of the final rounds, gaming. Now, I had a little bit of an issue with my input lag measurer, where the only reading I could get it to consistently read was at 4K at 60Hz, but that's pretty good because that's what I play at anyway. And I was getting a reading of 21 milliseconds on the Nebula and 16 milliseconds on the Valerion. Now, from the manufacturer's notes and from other measurements that other people have taken, you can get the Valerion down to as low as 4 milliseconds if you have it at 1080p at 240Hz. You do need to have it in game mode, and you need to have all of the settings like keystone correction turned off, and similarly you can get the Nebula down slightly lower, not very much lower though, if again you have it in extreme mode on game mode, and then that will stop again all of the correction on the screen, and it just needs to be all of those turned off, and that's the way to get it the fastest. But playing on a 100-inch screen, gaming, believe me, if you haven't tried it, it's definitely the future. It's the way to go. It's so immersive, and with the good sound system, it can really take you to another level, so please do consider trying that. Now, one other advantage with the Valerion is having that extra RAM and the extra ROM means that you're getting a better performance in some games, and certainly with PC gaming. And it's also got some extra features built in which is dedicated to the gamer. So this is going to be again a slightly easier one, where the Valerion will take gaming 10-9, but please don't think that the Nebula is bad for gaming, it's just that the Valerion is stunning. Okay guys, so now before I give you my summary, here are the overall scores, and you can see that the Valerion scored top marks in every single round apart from portability. And the Nebula did brilliantly as well. It scored top marks in 5 rounds, and then in 5 rounds it came second. So the overall score was 99 to 95. Now please don't throw your toys out the pram, because Guys, this is just my opinion, and I'm sure others will have their own. But the summary of this is that these two were really, really hard to split. They are the most incredible projectors. Now, the good thing is I think there's a massive separator, that if you're going to be taking your projector around with you and moving it, well then just go out and buy the X1. Definitely buy that one, because that is the most portable. It lends itself the best for outdoor cinema, and with the extra features like those speakers that you can get, well, it's designed perfectly for that. But if you're someone that's going to be putting a projector in place and not really ever moving it, well then the Valerion, without a doubt, is the one to get, because it just absolutely performs on every single level. So my friends, that's my thoughts on these two amazing projectors. Thank you for watching if you're still here, and I've really enjoyed doing this video. Show some love by subscribing and giving us a like. This video was not sponsored, and please bear in mind that these are just my opinions. Thanks again, my friends, and I look forward to seeing you on the next.